No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, good morning. How we doing, Boise State fans? Welcome on into another live edition of Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. We're presented, as always, by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com, Andy Rowe and Company. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings for your back patio, your garage, your basement, the interior, exterior residential painting, make sure you hit up our guys at RowPaint.com. They got some great fall specials going. And Brad Bedell, we are in the Western Collective Studios as well, whether it's the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer. Pick those up next time you're at Albertson's grocery stores, Albertson Stadium, and those help put a little money back in the pocket of the Horseshoe Collective, which helps put money back in the pocket of the Boise State student athletes. Brad, appreciate you, man, for jumping on. I know we talked last week when I was in Vegas, and now we're back, kind of a bye week, and now we're back with a big game to talk about and plenty to get after today. So appreciate you jumping on. How we doing, Brad Bedell?
Absolutely. I'm doing great. Just excited to talk about this game. Seemed like this is the one everybody's been waiting for since Washington State, and it's here. And it's actually amazing how much these teams match up, and there's little things that we'll get into later that could separate this game between winning and losing, to be quite honest with you.
We got plenty to talk about. The questions already rolling in. How many of y'all will be at the D for pre-gaming on Friday? We are really excited about that. We're having our pre-game party Friday right before the game. Come join us Friday at the D Las Vegas on Fremont Street, Bar Canada, up on the second floor. 3 to 5:30. I'll be doing our live pregame show there. We'll have Johnny and Prater broadcasting live for 95.3 The Ticket. And again, how about this? Derek Stevens and company opening up the pocketbook. 2 free drinks for all fans wearing blue and orange. So you're a Boise State fan, you get they're just going to hand you 2 drink tickets for 2 free drinks. And my understanding is Brad, that's pretty much anything at the bar. It's not the basic beer, basic whatever. You tell them what you want, and you're getting 2 free drinks. I think I was told within reason, but I think it's pretty much whatever you want. And again, Derek Stevens, owner of Circa, also owns the D right down the street, and they're opening up a big party for Boise State fans. I think we sold 35 hotel rooms as part of our package. There's about 75 people in this package that are going to be there. And then also anybody else that wants to come, you're just welcome. The free drinks are for everybody. So if you're in town, wherever you're staying on Friday, come on down and pregame, hang out from 3 to 5:30. The game is at 7:30 Pacific time. So you can Uber over, or they do have an option. It's a $40 round trip. They have a transportation service, $40 round trip if you want to come back to Fremont Street after the game. Or if you just want to pay the $40 and ride it one way on the bus to the game, you can do that as well. But they'll be signing people up at the concierge desk there at the D, I believe, or at Circa. $40 round trip for the M-Ride bus. Everybody in the package had their bus taken care of as part of the package. So appreciate all of you that are making plans to come. And it really, we'll see at 3 to 5:30. A lot of free giveaways. As I mentioned, the free drinks. They're going to put some people on KTIK and do a trivia contest. We'll have some people on. It's going to be a lot of fun. So tell your friends, make plans to join us. Bar Canada, the D, second floor, right next to the sports book there on Friday. But it's just a shame that Brad Bedell will not be on this Vegas trip, because I know all hundreds of folks that are coming down really wish they could learn from Brad on how to split face guards.
No, I ain't gonna make this one, but I'll tell all my friends to get a drink at the D.
There you go. Yes, Derek Stevens, D from Detroit, D. So it's aptly named the D Las Vegas, and we appreciate Derek and his crew for they sometimes will give you one free kind of specialty drink if they make a special cocktail for your group or whatever, or sometimes it's one, but for them to give out 2 free drinks is in Vegas, that's a $20-$25 value right there.
Oh, easily, depending if they're going to allow you to have a nice glass of Blanton's on the rocks. I mean, now you're looking at about 45.
Well,
that doesn't surprise me. I mean,
our group of 13 plans to attend. That's awesome, Melinda. Great to hear. So, they'll be, and it's right next to the sports book too. So as the drinks are flowing, you can go get your bets in for the game. And you're right, Brad. We've been waiting for this game for a long time, and it's a shame that UNLV lost to Syracuse, because this could have been it's already kind of being perceived as the top group of 5 game of the year, and I've seen all kinds of national people talking about worth staying up for on Friday night, and obviously huge implications. But if UNLV runs the table and beats Boise State twice, like they probably still have a pretty strong chance of getting in with their one loss. But a lot has to happen before that. But if they had been undefeated and both these teams were top 15, top 20, it would have been even cooler. But still, a lot on the line, a national stage, a Friday night, a lot of eyeballs watching Genty, watching Boise State. I mean, this is probably their last, biggest hurdle remaining in terms of toughest games left. I mean, there's a lot at stake, a lot on the line here for Boise State on Friday.
Oh, there is. I mean, every game is going to be like this, but this one's magnified. I mean, this is when you're starting to get national attention, and deservingly so, a Boise football program that that deserves what it's getting. I mean, you can't watch ESPN without talking about Boise State right now. CBS, Rick Neuheisel, phenomenal human being who I played for at Colorado. They're all talking about this game, and you're bringing star power. You got the wide receiver at UNLV, and obviously we have Genty, and then you got a defense coming in that's both defenses rack up sacks. This is going to be a fun football game to watch. And I'm a little upset that it's a Friday. I wish the conference would have saw this and talked to the television people about, hey, this needs to be a primetime Saturday, in my opinion, 1:30 slot that let the whole country watch it. But they didn't. So, I think it is worth a game to stay up for. I can't wait to watch it. And so now it's just about, God, we're Wednesday. Now you're just counting down the days, getting antsy to watch it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be – I don't mind the Friday night. I mean, I know you have the World Series, I guess, that's earlier in the evening. You do have I guess it's USC Rutgers. It's on Fox after the World Series on Friday night, kind of a weird game. But, I mean, I think that a lot of people I think they'll get a lot of eyes on this. You don't have – it's not, if you were in prime time on Saturday, you'd have 4 other games and 2, a top 10 SEC matchup going on or something. I don't think Friday night's the worst time slot for this.
Well, it's the time. It's if you want, which I mean, there's been a lot of argument. I've talked to a lot of people, and they're all upset. It's a time slot, right? You're going to cut off the East Coast eventually, but in turn, it's good because the East Coast, and obviously by the way, there's a Heisman, candidate going on, so they wake up Saturday to all college game day. And if Genty goes off, they're just going to rally off explosive run after explosive run. So that's a benefit. I just think that Boise State needs to go at national attention through the East Coast. And it's kind of been this way for the late kickoffs, and they're used to it, which is fine. I just think that this football team deserves a complete national attention game. And I mean, there's a few SEC games, but when you've got everybody talking about how they've sold every single home game out, right? They've sold everything out. People are talking about the Heisman candidate. I think you're going to get great viewership, even if you're playing at a 1:30 slot with an SEC team, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. And if it were a Saturday, I know they don't have a contract. I mean, there's a real chance you could have been in the mix for college game day as well if it had been on a Saturday, because they're going to Indiana, and that's a great story, cool story there. But Indiana is hosting Washington. I mean, they try to get to a Group of 5 game every year with Genty's storyline being in Vegas. They've never been to Vegas, I think, for a game day. Like I'm not saying they would have gotten it, but if this game were on a Saturday, they would have at least been in the conversation.
Oh, I think it helps situation. But until they go to an Indiana game who just lost their starting quarterback for some time. So that, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things to this. And so I truly think that they have a shot. Would they have gotten it? Who knows? But are you telling me college game day in Las Vegas for this matchup, it would be awesome.
All the backdrop they could have had doing it in front of the Bellagio fountains or wherever they could have done it. I mean, they would have been all over that, I think.
I think they would have too, but
and no, they'll not be in town for the Oregon State game. That's another Friday game. Somebody's asking. No, they don't come to college. It has to be a Saturday game. They won't come to college game day on a Saturday after the game's already happened. Bronco 130 says, "Ha, Brad, it's cute that you think our conference leadership has that type of insight." Taking a little shot at the Mountain West there, that they would think that they could think far ahead to plan.
Well, you don't have to deal with it very long, but you don't have a TV. They don't have a TV contract with the new pack, so. Yet to be determined.
I do think that not being on ESPN has hurt the Mountain West. I mean, they've had a pretty good TV deal, but like ESPN talks about their games and their programming way more than the other games. And so I do think that when they lost ESPN, and nothing against Fox, but I mean, a lot of these Boise State home games, like the announcers aren't even at the game. They're broadcasting from some studio back in LA. And just, I mean, they do get a couple actual Fox games. Like the Mountain West Championship is a Friday night prime time on Big Fox. Like that's a big deal. And the Oregon State game is a national Fox game, even though it's 10 a.m. It's noon Eastern on Black Friday. Like that's going to get a lot of eyeballs on that game. Like, so the Big Fox is a big deal, but overall, I think that when they lost the ESPN contract, I do think that hurt the Mountain West.
Not only this, but it hurts Boise State because remember, Boise State's got a little bit of a separate contract with ESPN. Had a separate contract with ESPN. You had to be on national television.
Got the extra money. It was
perfect. You weren't on Fox. You weren't on Fox Sports 2, who I didn't even know I even existed.
Exactly.
Where everybody knows where ESPNU is. Everybody knows where ESPN2 is, unless you live under a rock.
And FS2, and who knows? Now we're seeing CW pop up for these Pac-12 games. So I'm very curious what that new TV package is going to look like. They're talking a lot about streaming, maybe Amazon or whatever. And we see TNT now, which has gotten into sports with the NBA and baseball and stuff. TNT, TBS is starting to get into college a little bit. They're doing some college basketball this year. So we'll see. But I think that that new Pac-12 TV deal is going to be very interesting for me because I think it needs to have some component, even if it's a small package of one game a week or something. They have to have the ESPN family of networks involved because, like I said, the agendas they push with their teams and their conferences, I think that it's, you get way more talk if when Boise State shows up on the ticker, and way more talk when you're part of their deal and they know they're airing that game. Even if it's ESPNU at 10 p.m. tonight, they'll still talk about it on game day to push it towards their channel.
Well, there's no doubt, and they also own the bowl rights
for almost all. Yep.
Except for the Sun Bowl, which is a CBS, if that's still happening.
Yep.
But they also own the bowl rights. I mean,
Yep.
it's a conglomerate. It's Disney and ESPN. They run the show. And so Fox has done a good job about, like, especially with the Big Ten, that type of thing. But that's their premiere, where ABC took over the SEC. And it's weird watching Gary Danielson not on CBS. Watching, hey, we're here in the SEC, and that's CBS. That's just it's which is known for. But ESPN and ABC made a run, and now they have the SEC. So ESPN runs the show.
Weird too.
Huh?
Seeing the Big Ten on NBC now is very weird. And
the only thing I'm used to seeing on NBC is Notre Dame, and who cares about Notre Dame?
Well, there's going to be a lot of people caring about him. We'll talk about that in a minute, but really appreciate listening to Coach Bedell's football insight. Go Broncos. So we got at least one person that's liking you this morning, Brad.
There's always one. You're saying there's a chance.
Splitting face guards. What a legend. Comments rolling in here. But you mentioned Notre Dame. They're going to be a team that is going to be worth watching because they play Army this week. Or no, Navy. Excuse me. They play Navy this Saturday. And then in 2 weeks, there's a week off or one game in the middle, and then they play Navy. And if either one of those teams, Army or Navy, finds a way to beat Notre Dame and runs the table, an undefeated Army or Navy with a win over Notre Dame, that's going to be very interesting how they would line them up against Boise State for that 5th conference championship spot.
Agreed, but you also got to go back to strength of schedule. And I think a Notre Dame loss to Northern Illinois hurts them. And they lost pretty good, where a 3-point loss to the number 1 team in the country, given if Oregon runs the table, Boise has to have Washington State to keep on winning. They need that. They need Nevada to win a couple of games, and they need Wyoming to get their head out of their butt and win a couple. Because now we're in, like, Air Force is terrible. We don't play them. Or Boise doesn't play them. So you're in good shape there. And Fresno's below average, and they don't play them. So strength of schedule for everybody, you need Oregon to win. If they're the number 1 team in the country, it just helps, right? Washington State on a blowout win versus Washington State. If they can run the rest of the table, that helps. And you need Oregon State to win out and then come here Friday and then get another great win. That helps. And then they beat UNLV. You need UNLV to run the table.
Yeah.
So
they Washington State is 26th right now. They're barely outside the top 25. They were 26th. They go to San Diego State this weekend, but then they've got Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming. I mean, realistically, at worst, Washington State should lose one more game. So, I mean, they're going to be probably 10-2 at worst at the end of the season. So that's and probably in the top 25. You mentioned San Diego State. I mean, they come to Boise next Friday for a Friday night game. They're actually 3-3. And they're 2-0 in Mountain West play right now. And obviously this game against Washington State this weekend is a non-conference game. So San Diego State's going to arrive next Friday undefeated in conference play and kind of controlling their own destiny at this point, feeling pretty good as well. So I agree with you on Nevada. I mean, they're going to come in. Jeff Choate's going to have you're never going to see a team more ready to play probably than Jeff Choate. Will have them in a couple of weeks as well. We'll dive into that a little closer to the time. But if you're a Boise State fan, I think the easiest thing is just win out, worry about yourself, and hope that, like I said, Army and Navy both lose a game. And then I think, it would be pretty cool going into that conference championship game, as I said, on the Blue on Big Fox, where it's pretty much known that if they win, they're getting that spot, and you're kind of playing for that spot in the game. Because I remember in 2014, they hosted the conference championship game against Fresno State, and they were easily the top ranked team, and they were going to get the Fiesta Bowl as long as it was just a foregone conclusion. Win the game, you get the Fiesta Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl reps were there and everything, and they won the game. And then you had Armand Nance, a former lineman, even though the game was no longer sponsored by Tostitos, was out there on the stage in a sombrero and eating chips out of the bag and stuff, Tostitos. And it was, they're celebrating that they were going to the game. I guess you couldn't really hold up a Vizio TV or whatever, who was the actual sponsor of that game. But right. That's a long ways away. They got to win Friday, and they got to go. Yeah. I know, and the coach, as Rid and all the guys last night on Riley and Rid were saying, hey, you can't worry about anything except Friday. You win this game, you move on. But we were talking after the show. I'll have to go back and look, but in terms of biggest games that Boise State has played in a long time, when you think about this game Friday and what it means for this season, what it means for the college football playoff, the fact that it is, and again, the other games, we'll worry about them, but, on paper, this is their hardest hurdle remaining, and with everything that they have going, I mean, in terms of, obviously the Fiesta Bowls, there's been some big games up there, but in terms of regular season games, at least in the last 4, 5, 6 years that I can remember, this is probably one of the biggest games Boise State will have played in a long time.
I would agree. I can't think of one when I was a part of that program. I can't think of one. Well, we lost it, but it turned out to be losing to BYU in 2017 turned out to be very costly. But no.
I think a year or two with where you're at this point in the schedule. I mentioned the remaining games, where you're already at, the whole added college football playoff thing, and how this game, you lose this game, you're pretty much done for the playoff. You win this game, you got a chance to win the rest of these games. And I mean, if you're a Boise State fan, Brad, you're not just trying to get in and get the 12 seed. You want to root for, try to get the 10 or 11 or maybe even get the 8 and get a home game on the blue. Like, I mean, I understand it's probably not likely, but I mean, why just settle for the 12 seed at this point? Try to keep winning and impressing and hope other teams lose and see what happens. And heck, if Iowa State and BYU both lose a game, Boise State could get the 4 seed and get a bye in the first round, as crazy as that sounds. So there's just so much still at stake for Boise State. It's a massive game on Friday.
It's a huge game. I mean, they take care of business, and they've also shown this season, right, even with Spence, is they show up on big games. Now, they don't have the crowd they had at Washington State, right? So, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of Boise State people in Las Vegas. So, I don't really
50-50. I'm not sure it's going to be quite that much, but there are a ton of Boise State fans I know going to this game.
Okay. Unless something changes and I watch this game Friday, I don't think UNLV is a tough place to play. Not with that big of a stadium. Yeah, I mean, they fill up the bottom row. The top row is empty. And remember, all crowd noise comes top to bottom. And so if you need to – why is Washington so loud? Because it's top. It ricochets off of that.
But Boise State's so loud. Yeah.
Because of the top tier. They don't put anybody in those top tiers. And so there is not that – element of crowd noise. Is there going to be crowd noise? Absolutely. But it can't be. These kids at Boise State have played in loud environments. Oregon, for example, which is arguably one of the loudest in the country, on a tight game. So don't tell me that place wasn't. You were there. I guarantee that place was rocking. Yep. So
They just played in this game, basically this game last year. Mountain West Championship at UNLV, a big game, conference championship. I mean, the stakes aren't exactly the same, but you could argue they're almost bigger with what Boise State's playing for right now still. I mean, they just played – most of these guys just played in this stadium in a big-time game with pressure, 10 months ago.
Sure, and I think you're going to get more people at this game. And I think as they travel on the road, they're going to get more people at games naturally because they want to see the running back play. Now, are those true UNLV fans? Are those true – this fan yet to be determined? They may be that day, but you're going to see a lot more people filling up these stadiums just to see Genty play. It's like the one guy who finds out the top pitcher is going to go and is starting on a random Wednesday game in Major League Baseball. That stadium seems to be more crowded, and the more national height that Genty's getting is going to put more people in the stands because those are college football lovers and want to see a phenomenal player play football. So that's natural. So I think you're going to get more people in the stands than UNLV's had in the past, but is it truly a hectic, wild environment? Yet to be determined, but history doesn't show that.
We got a couple questions for Brad in the ICCU YouTube chat. If you have a question for Brad, get it in the chat. We're going to talk about some of the keys that Brad sees in this game coming up in a minute as well. But do want to thank a couple of our sponsors. Western Collective, make sure you try that Horseshoe Golden Ale or the Orange Chaos Seltzer next time you're at Albertson Stadium. They also sell it at most major retailers. They've got the brewery there that you can purchase it at as well in Garden City. And again, a portion of each sale from the Horseshoe Golden Ale and the Orange Chaos Seltzer goes back to the Horseshoe Collective to help the student athletes at Boise State. Our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. Again, all those concrete coatings, the interior, exterior painting, all your painting needs. Make sure you hit up the official paint and coatings company at Boise State Athletics, and that is our friends at rowpaint.com. Tyson Degenhart, he's got a deal with ICCU, and you can as well, ICCU.com. Check them out online. The best mobile e-branch online banking you'll ever deal with right there on your smartphone. And again, there's a branch on every corner. Go check it out, but you really don't need it because you can just do everything right there from your phone. Check them out again, ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher, now the official real estate advisor of the Boise State home team. Again, his crew is something else. Helped us every step of the way to purchase and sell our home with Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Check them out, the number one realtor in the Treasure Valley. The stats say it. I saw firsthand why that's the case. And again, Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, they got 14 locations around the state of Idaho, the surrounding states, whether it be Magic Valley, Treasure Valley, up in McCall. Make sure you check them out. You walk in there, and it's just a friendly staff, friendly environment, that hometown grocery store feel. And again, you can get up to 40% off of the checkout line if you use the Skip app. So check them out, up to 40%. Check them out. Find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Weather's starting to cool down. Perfect time to get that spa for the family out on the back patio. Maybe you'd prefer the sauna or the pool table for the game room. They can take care of it all at Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game. Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. TheSpaTeam.com. They're part of the Boise State home team. So, again, check them out. View one of their locations, or you can check them out and view their full inventory and options online. TheSpaTeam.com. Lithia Ford of Boise as well. Want to support them, folks, because they support the Broncos. They support Bronco Nation News, one of the biggest supporters of Boise State Athletics, the official truck of the Broncos, Lithia Ford of Boise. And again, LithiaFordBoise.com. You can view that full inventory of vehicles. They got 6 student athletes at Boise State driving vehicles, many of the coaches, athletic department staff. They're stepping up to help Boise State, and you can return the favor. Purchase your next vehicle, that car or truck, that F-150 at Lithia Ford of Boise. And again, right there in Boise on Fairview, or you can check them out online ahead of time at LithiaFordBoise.com. All right, Brad, we got a lot of questions coming in here. Let's see, where are a couple of them? Okay, so Boise State had the bye week coming back from Hawaii. They were able to kind of start their normal game week on a Sunday instead of a Monday. You know, they're able to they're not dealing with the short week here. So they were able to still have a full week of preparation for this game. They just kind of started their week, on a Sunday instead of a Monday to get ready for this game. UNLV had to play that late Saturday night game in Corvallis, got back late. BSU Bill wanting to know how big of an advantage is the bye week for Boise State, especially with UNLV on a short week after they played Saturday night, now playing on Friday. He says, I feel like it gets overblown, but you're the expert.
I think it gets overblown at all, because you can go back and study yourself. And I cannot express how important that is. When you can come back and reflect, like offensively, you're going to break down every run pass percentage you've run formationally through 6 games. And you'll find every team has a huge tendency. And once you find that tendency, it's time to break tendencies. So this is a game where, for example, maybe in bunch formation, they're 70% pass. Well, now you got to find that run, because defensive coordinators play percentages, right? So you're gonna find that if they're heavy run, get a pass, maybe a shot play off of that stuff. Defensively, you can really break down some of the third down things that they've had over the past 6 games. And okay, maybe they were running cover 3. I didn't see all of it. Okay, cover 3, what's our answer for cover 3? Because cover 3 is exposing some holes on 3rd and 8+. So is cover 3 our best answer? Or should we go more of 2 or 4 or play man? And then they're going to come in and study the run game as much as there is really to study. But hey, what's some issues in inside zone? Is there penetration on the cutback lane, and that's causing some issues? And then defensively, they're going to re-go over gap fits and things like that. And then what is never overblown is you get to rest some players that are maybe slightly dinged up that are still playing, but now you can rest them and kind of get away from the game on Thursday, Friday. Maybe the player can self-reflect about where their season's at, what they have to improve on, and refocus on, okay, now you got the next half of the season. Okay, we're in it. It's time to roll. So now we're going to refocus on how are we going to finish the last half of the season. So I don't think it's overblown at all. Now, flip side to UNLV. Short weeks suck. They suck.
Well, so what do they lose when the day is gone? Just maybe let folks know the hours the coaches are putting in, the practice time. Like, what's missed when you lose that day?
So everything's So everything's fast forward, right? So they got home late Saturday, early Sunday morning.
Yep.
Okay, so really early Sunday morning. It depends how they're going to do that. So what we've always done is you go back home, you get about 3 hours of sleep, you get back into your routine as much as you can. So you've got to grade that film, you have the meetings, you have practice if you're having that practice, and then you got to immediately start, and everything's fast forward. So Monday, they have to have a day off too. So then Monday is going to be a big game plan day. Tuesday is your Tuesday's practice. Wednesday is your Wednesday's practice, but you're losing that kind of polish up. If you played Saturday, you have a Thursday polish up practice. It's a heavier practice. I mean, you're getting about 60 reps, something like that. You lose that. So you have to make that determination of, okay, on Thursday, are we going to do just a walkthrough, or are we going to do some full speed stuff? Maybe we're not connecting right on maybe a new route or something like that. Are they going to run that full speed? Or are they going to, hey, we're just going to go all walk through and something like that, and then you got to play the game. So you have to make that determination of the coach is you're losing a little bit of practice time or the speed of the game and that type of thing. The other thing is, hey, those nicks, those bruises, it's an extra day. Because remember, when you play a game on Saturday, you're really the sorest on Monday, not Sunday. You're going to run them. You're going to do those. You're going to try to get that lactic acid out of them, things like that. But Monday, if anybody's been like in somewhat of a fender bender, they're like really sore the next day. The following day, they're like, oh man, I'm really sore. And so you're kind of losing some of that rest time where they're going to kind of get over that soreness on a Tuesday, something like that. And then they got to turn around and play a game Friday. So you got to be very cautious of how you practice.
I can't find the comment on here right now, but a couple people were asking about here it is. The go-go offense and Brennan Marion, their OC, haven't seen anyone else run it besides UNLV. The go-go offense. What can you tell us about that?
I mean, you're going to get back-to-back nights of it. I mean, you got UNLV, fast, up-tempo, not gimmicky. And then you have a San Diego State team coming in that runs the Art Briles scheme. So you're going to get 2 weeks of it. But the go-go is – and I'm glad that person said it, because these two offenses match up. It's actually ridiculous. So I just did in conference, right? So in conference, Boise State, and I got this up NCAA if anybody wants to look at it. Boise's averaging 523 yards a game. UNLV is 429 yards a game. Okay. How about this? Rushing. Okay, this is really big. 226 yards attempts for Boise, and they get 289 yards rushing a game. That's wild. How about this one? UNLV. They have 309 yards attempts. Remember, they've played 7, so they have an extra game. Okay? They average 251.4 yards a game. So this is both run-first offenses. So what does that mean? That means the clock's running. So you may lose a possession, okay, and you really got to get some first downs to keep drives alive. I hate to tell you this, but passing, Boise State's 233.2 yards a game. UNLV is 177. Now, there has been some changes at the quarterback spot. I get all that. Okay, but why do I say that? Is I think if a defense can make one of these offenses run dimensional, cancel the run, make them throw the ball a little bit, you have a huge advantage of winning this game. If one of them stops the run and makes them throw the ball more than they want to, they got a huge advantage. And red zone, I mean, Boise State has 21 TDs and 5 field goals. Okay, well, UNLV has 22 TDs, 15 field goals. So they've gotten the red zone a little bit more, but they have an extra game. And then this is the one thing that I think is going to be important is third down conversion. Boise State is, you can go 0.54. God, UNLV has not been that great on third down. They're fifth in the conference, as a matter of fact. And
Yep.
so that's the one thing that's going to be key here is make UNLV one-dimensional. Make them throw the ball, get them in third and long passing, and you've got a huge advantage. How about this is the other thing, this sacks. Boise State has 22 sacks. UNLV has 22. Or I'm sorry, Boise State has 29 sacks. UNLV has 22. So they're both very good defensive lines. That's obvious. I mean, and so it matches up, and it's really unbelievable. Even in defensively, it's UNLV holds they're the number one team in rushing. Boise State's two. Boise State gives up 105 yards a game rushing. UNLV gives up 104 yards rushing.
The go-go offense, though, I know it's kind of it's like a downhill running game. It's different alignments, multi-back sets. I mean, this guy, Marion, their offensive coordinator, has written a book about it, the go-go offense, and it's kind of a legendary type thing. And I know it's based off of, there's some triple option concepts to it as well in terms of the running game.
Zone read, play with 11, get the ball in the perimeter with some RPOs, take advantage of some slants.
You look at their running game, though, Brad, they got 4 guys that all have, more than 40 rushing attempts and more than 286 yards. I mean, they don't have the Ashton Genty. They have 3-4 guys all with very similar stats. So they'll put 2 or 3 guys in the backfield, and any one of them could get the ball on any play.
Right, but without looking at that offense, and I trust, especially Spence as a defensive guy, there's got to be some type of tell or advantage statistically stating you get 2 backs. I don't know the numbers of these kids. So you got number 1 on the left tailback, you got number 5 at the right tailback. As you're looking at this, who's getting the ball more? Who's the blocker? Who's the swing pass guy? Who's the zone read and they flare him out and backside zone the defensive end and dump it? Things like that do they have tells in that regard? And so is one guy in the running back, is he hand just above everybody else in pass receptions? There's things like that where statistically or schematically you can give off some tells, and that's why the bye week's great and UNLV doesn't have it. But you got it. Both defenses got to tackle, and I don't in the turnover thing, that's every game. You could go play Timberline High School. If Boise State turns the ball over 6 times, it's going to be a ball game. It's just the way it is. And I know the interceptions, and I get all that, but UNLV is an opportunistic defense, and they're going to jump some things to create those picks. Can you double move them? Can you get them jumping and throw it over the top of them? Things like that take advantage of their aggressiveness rather than just sit there and stop route. Well, eventually the corner is going to jump the stop route. So now stop and go. Throw it over his head. Create some explosive plays in that regard and take their aggressiveness as an advantage, not like, oh, we don't want to throw this because he's going to jump it. No, why? What's he jumping? And throw it over the top.
Will Black says the best way to stop an offense like the go-go offense is keep them on the sideline, run the damn ball, stay on the field,
and then also keep them out of rhythm.
What did you make of Dirk Cutter's comment yesterday? And I don't know if you heard it or not, but he basically said he was rewatching the championship game from last year. And remember, the next day was the day I believe they told Spencer Danielson that he got the job. But going into this championship game, a lot of the coaches didn't know if they were going to be back next year, what was happening. And he said the offensive staff kind of hung it all out there in that championship game. He said you could tell that wasn't, or he said he knew that the offensive staff wasn't sure they'd have jobs next year. They maybe opened up the playbook a little bit in that championship game. He said it's not going to be that kind of game on Friday. So we're not going to have the same game plan that they had in that game. What do you mean by that? Or what do you think that in terms of last year's game, I think it was 44-20. Boise State had some big plays, won that game. You had Taylon Green running all over the field. They had some big passing plays as well. A couple trick plays. I think at least a flea flicker was in there somewhere. But Dirk Cutter kind of said watching that game, it was kind of, hey, we're not gonna have that kind of game plan. You could tell they were kind of wondering if they'd have a job and just kind of having fun out there. But I mean, what you've been in situations, I guess, on coaching staff too, where you're bowl game things, not sure what's going on with your next stop or whatever else. What do you make of Dirk Cutter saying that when he says we're not going to have that kind of game plan? What do you mean? What do you think he means by that?
Well, I don't think if you're in the minus 35, you're not going to throw a flea flicker. You're not going to run a trick play. It's just kind of like, hey, let it hang. I was in the exact same situation in the Arizona Bowl when I was at Baylor and we played Boise State. And we literally ran the same play 9 times in a row. And it's just like, they're not stopping it, so I don't care. I'm sorry? Yeah, Katie Cannon, yeah.
Throw it to Katie Cannon. Pretty good play that day.
So literally, Kendall's like, I don't know, run the same play. Run the same play. Run the same play. It doesn't matter. Run the same play. We don't have jobs. So it really doesn't matter, right? Just run it. It doesn't matter. That's where you get that. But if you're like, okay, we got to be a little bit more cautious in terms of, hey, if we run this trick play on 3rd and 4 in the -10, or we run this play on a -10 and it doesn't work, we're in trouble. But when you don't have a job, you're like, yeah, run it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, I'm out of here anyway. So, oh well. I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, that's literally, I think we ran a reverse or something. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it hit. It just, it doesn't matter. Just you run it, you have fun, things like that. Because if you're not going to be there, you just let it hang. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Was it like that for the Arkansas State bowl game too? I forget who stayed.
Oh, yeah. That one. I mean, we ran. Actually, the ESPN guy got in trouble. I'm not going to say it, what he said, but we called it hide the little guy. And we ran that. And the ESPN guy said, hide the M word. And I'm like, uh-oh, you can't say that. And it was funny. But we ran a lot of things that game. And we were like, it doesn't matter. We're not going to be back. We knew we weren't going to be back. So it's like, yeah.
Your coach already left to go to Boise State. You didn't know. Did you already know going or not? Or
no, I knew. I've heard through friends that the guy they were hiring was bringing in everybody. So it's like, he's like, you're gone. I'm like, all right, cool.
But you knew that Huff was staying at Boise State?
Yeah.
Or were you still hoping to kind of get on there?
I was hoping, but no, I've heard that Huff was staying. I heard that Blake was bringing in his own guys. And so that's how I ended up at Texas State with Dennis Francione, which in turn, I am very thankful for what I learned in 2 years helped me develop as a football coach.
It is weird how that stuff kind of all, and then you end up.
It works out.
Larson, it worked out well. I mean, it's just funny how it all that stuff kind of you make connections and do things, and it all comes back full circle.
Yeah, and it's fun. And to answer his question, I don't expect them to come out and run trick play after trick play after trick play. You got to play the percentages.
They're going to pound the rock and throw it when they need to. And I mean, I don't think anything's going to change. We'll see if Breezy Dubar can get back out there. I mean, that 31 carry game from Genty against Hawaii was partly, hey, the game's still kind of close, but partly like they didn't have options 2 or 3. I mean, they had to go down to Dylan Riley at number 4 and Tyler Crow at number 5. So that was a combination of, yeah, we need to win this game. We need you out there, but they also didn't have a lot of other options. If they can get Breezy Dubar healthy after the bye week, that'll be an interesting one because they have some other guys as well, whether it be James Ferguson Reynolds, the punter. There's some other guys that are, maybe, questionable to maybe probable, just kind of in that, probably couldn't have played last week. Maybe with the extra week, they can play this week. Like they've been pretty banged up. The D tackle Sheldon Newton was out against Hawaii as well. So as you mentioned, the bye week is huge for trying to get guys healthy and get them back. And I think that'll be a key for this game too, if they can get some of these guys back.
Absolutely. Healthy, get the players that need to play. And when you get guys back on the field, that'll help your depth, even on special teams, things like that. And the other thing I think is going to be a key player is who can get some explosive plays in the passing game. We know they're going to come in the run game.
Yep.
Guys, I hate to tell you this, Boise State's defense is going to give up a long run. It's going to happen. Do not go on Twitter and say everybody sucks. It's going to happen. The ones you don't want to see is multiple explosive plays off of play action. And that's going to happen. And you need to come out, and it needs to happen quickly because that one offense, Boise State's or UNLV, is going to have to show somebody, hey, by the way, we're willing to throw it over your head. So you better watch it. And then here we go. Play the game. Back to the run game. Explosive. Throw it over the top. Play actions. Things like that are going to be vital, especially, I think, in the first quarter.
I have a question about how Boise State's going to attack UNLV's defense in just a second. But first, TacoBellWorks.com. Taco Bell, you looking for a great meal for the family, a cheap, affordable, delicious meal? Take them to Taco Bell, one of the Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. And again, TacoBellWorks.com. The SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, they are hiring. So if you're looking for a job with great benefits, free food while you work, half your wages the next day after your shift, make sure you check out our friends at Taco Bell. Speaking of jobs, Transportation Compliance Service can help you get into the trucking industry. It's a local company helping folks all over the world, all the overweight DOT permits. If you've never thought about getting into the trucking industry, maybe you should. They can help you out at transcomservice.com. The Blue and Orange Store, Travis Hawks and Company, they've got the best selection of the Ashton Genty NIL gear, his custom designed New Era hats, his Heisman shirts, the jerseys, all that great stuff. You want to help out Ashton Genty, you can put some money back in his pocket. He gets a portion of each sale at the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. Check out the blueandorangestore.com. And again, you can order anywhere online, anywhere in the world, or you can go right there to the Boise Town Square Mall on the second floor next to Pro Image. Hopefully on Monday, we'll be getting our 91-cent coffee or fountain drink. If Ahmed Hassanin can get a sack, then you get a 91-cent fountain drink at Jackson's. And if Breezy can get back out there and score a touchdown on Tuesday, you get your Breezy bundle. Hot dog and a soda for $1 on Tuesdays at Jackson's. And speaking of hot dogs, every hot dog purchased 24/7, anytime, any day of the week, every hot dog purchased 25 cents goes back to the Horseshoe Collective to help student athletes at Boise State. So next time you're looking for getting gas, looking for a quick bite to eat, make sure you head to our friends at Jackson. Speaking of food, leanfeastmeridian.com, leanfeastmeridian.com, 10,000 plus combinations. They deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley. And again, it's all fresh. It's all customizable. It's good 5 days in your refrigerator. And then it's good. It's only 2 minutes in the microwave and you're good to go. So if you're, have work in an office building or something, it's super easy to just take one of these to work for the day. And highly recommend the folks at Lean Feast, leanfeastmeridian.com. Okay, Brad. So UNLV is number 3 in the country. They have 13 interceptions on defense. And so they've played 7 games, basically 2 interceptions a game they're averaging. Boise State's done a pretty good job. They've only turned the ball over 5 times in 6 games. When you think about if you're playing a team, and I know you haven't studied all the tape on UNLV, but if you're getting that many interceptions, you're probably being pretty aggressive, jumping some routes, things like that. Obviously, Boise State's going to run the ball first. That's going to be their first main focus in this game. But can you, whether it be double moves or, what are ways, if you have an aggressive defense and they have a lot of interceptions, what's a way from the passing game that you can attack that?
Well, number one, I think you can shift in motion and create some mismatches on some players that don't have the production. I don't know the numbers if there's a certain corner that has majority
of the corner with 4 picks, and then they actually have a linebacker with 4 picks also.
Okay, so then the 4 picks of the linebacker, if they're dropping in zone, stop throwing it over the middle and slant routes where the linebacker is going to be sitting there picking it, right? That's the age-old advantage of there's pick lanes, especially versus slants. Linebackers getting out, cover 2, curl flats, things like that. They're in the pick. It's pick alley for the slants. So take that away or play action. Get them sucked up in there, throw it over their head.
They have 6 players with at least 1 interception. Boise State has 1 interception for the season.
I would be very aware, know your personnel as a quarterback. I would be very aware if the shift in motion, if that takes away your number 1, because you don't want to throw to the guy. That's with lockdown corners make a lot of money getting interceptions and they don't throw it to them.
That's number 1.
They just don't throw it that way, right? Look at the Travis Hunter at Colorado. People don't throw his way. They just don't.
Jalen Catalan, number 1, is their guy with 4 interceptions at corner.
Perfect. Now, the other thing is I honestly think you can shift in motions, maybe get some speed inside where you're flipping your inside wide receiver to your outside wide receiver. And maybe you can create a mismatch on a safety, things like that, where you can create some explosives and some completions. I think also your 5-yard gains. Can you turn 5-yard into 12 after the catch? Things like that. And then once you start seeing aggressive play by corners, double move them, throw it over the top of them. It's just the way it's corners, the good ones that have a lot of confidence, the arrogant ones, they're going to start jumping things. That's just the way they're built. And that's what you want. But you got to have them, you got to make them pay. And if you make them pay, that creates touchdowns. That's how I would also get Genty involved in the passing game. He has not had a whole lot of receptions this year, and we know get him the ball in space. Who's the winner?
He scored a touchdown on a pass there in Hawaii.
And so I get him involved. You can mismatch, and I don't know how many option routes they're doing. You could do some option routes on some linebackers, just things like that. Obviously, I haven't seen him practice this week. I haven't seen anything. That's how. Just listening to some of the really good passing guys that I've been with, especially like when we played Georgia, we just didn't throw to the corner. I'm like, they're like, we're not even throwing that side. Take him out of it. We're not even going to try. He's that good. I mean, I think he was a top 10 pick. But I think you got to be optimistic on number one side. Okay, just is he playing off? Is he press man? And then can you beat him on a 9 route? If you can't beat him on a 9 route, and if he wins 50-50 balls, you got to be alert. You can't just throw it up to that kid if he has really good ball skills.
You mentioned earlier the red zone, and obviously Boise State is had a lot of success when they get in there getting touchdowns. UNLV has not. UNLV does rank 105th in the country. They're only scoring touchdowns on 52% of their red zone trips. So I know I joked with Coach Ritt about it last night. I know he loves to get on me for my keys to the game always being kind of the obvious keys every game, but it does seem like in this game, some of these spots, red zone, touchdown percentage, we mentioned special team. We haven't really mentioned special teams much. We should mention that briefly. I mean, Ricky White, the receiver that, again, already has 9 touchdown receptions, already has, almost 50 catches on the season. He's an NFL first or second round receiver. He's got 3 blocked kicks himself coming off the edge. The next highest team in America only has 2. He has more than any other team in America himself so far. They have DeJesus, the returner, who's the preseason Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Year. He's an electric returner in the punt and kick return game. Special teams has been up and down for Boise State this year. They've had their moments, but overall, they've struggled at times. I mean, special teams lost them the Oregon game, and you're facing a team that's a dominant special teams type team. So I know we talk about it, and it's the same every week, but it does seem like red zone, turnover margin, and in this case, special teams too are going to be major factors in this game.
Oh, absolutely. You want to take a returner out of it? Don't kick to him. Don't kick to him, right? I mean, try to kick the ball in the end zone. Okay. And if that hurts you, I don't know, kind of bloop it. Get a fair catch. Get something. When it comes to punt and the block punts, I understand you see 4, that's amazing. I get all that. But you would be shocked of how many times I have had to watch special teams when I was doing special teams at Auburn. The fact of they didn't even block the guy. I mean, I wish I could see them all. I can't. I haven't seen the 4 blocks, but you'd be shocked at how many times, or the guy just taps him and releases. I mean, you got to put a body on him, and if you got to protect the ball, protect the punter a little bit more than coverage this week, this is the week to do it. Don't just tap and go because his speed, he'll make up for his speed for the block. Get a body on him. Be physical with him, okay? And if you're a little late to get out in coverage, you're gonna fill and fold, right? So everybody sees it, right? So everybody's got their lanes. Well, then the trailer's got to fill and fold, see where your holes are at, and then he's got to replace that. And if that's what they have to do, that's what they have to do. But you better get physical with a kid, and protection more than coverage for that one player, right? Not the whole team, that one player. Understand where he's at, get the body on him, and then get the kickoff first. Because if you hear pop pop, you're really in bad shape, right? So punt, you can put it out of bounds. You can do coverage. I think hang time on punts is vital this week because now you're letting your coverage get there. Force the fair catches, things like that. So if you're getting really good hang time, you don't have to kick the ball out of bounds all the time. If you get hang time, let your coverage team corral the returner, fair catch, ball's dead, 1st and 10. Let's go. So you could do that. Kickoff return and things like that. It's it is what it is, to be honest with you. But if you kick the ball to the end zone, you're not getting the ball in the kid's hands anyway. So that's a good point. When it comes to we said this versus the Washington State team or game too. If you're making teams settle for field goals, it's going to bite them in the butt in the 4th quarter. You see it week in and week out. You hear announcers like, well, they've had to settle for 3 field goals, okay, and they're down by 10. If they hit all 3, you got a 2-minute shot to win it. So if you can make UNLV settle for field goals, and now if you're settling for field goals for Boise State, you're matching score for score. But now all of a sudden you're scoring touchdowns. You look up, you're up by 10 because they're settling for field goals and Boise State hasn't.
Yep. What are your final thoughts, Brad? We wrap this up. We're a little over 48 hours from kickoff. Again, the Boise State's, to this point, biggest game remaining on the schedule. Looks like the last remaining, toughest hurdle. And, these other games will be tricky. They'll be tough. I know it's one game at a time, but on paper, this looks like their, biggest test remaining to try to win this conference and get to that CFP bid. And on the road, Friday night, national TV against a pretty good team down there in Las Vegas. What's your final takeaways?
Well, I want to say this. This is the type of game, if Boise State is known and hangs her head on physical blue-collar mentality, you come in and you beat them up. You absolutely determine and break their will as humanly as possible. And you hand the ball off. You get the double teams. And you just put them on their back. And you do it down in and down out. If you're an offensive lineman and you get a free hit on a defensive end in the passing game, you go in there with bad intentions at a rib cage. And you make that kid pay. And then defensively, you attack the quarterback, and I've said it every week, you hit him. Look at what they did for Washington State. They hit that kid, and they drilled it. Play physical Boise State football, and I don't think UNLV can hold to that. That's a number one. I'm not saying it's a knock. I think Barry Odom's doing a great job at UNLV. He's brought in a great culture. They're a tough football team, yada, yada, yada. But I'll tell you what, you get a defense, pardon me, that wants to hit the go-go offense in the mouth, you hit it in the mouth. And offensively, you let the offensive linemen eat, and you just demolish them. And you play a physical brand of football, and it holds true. Held true last year versus them. If Boise State's the most physical team coming out of this game, I think Boise State wins by 17 easy. If Boise State's not as physical, I think this is a shootout. And a shootout as in 42-38. It's a shootout. If you play soft football, it's a shootout. If you play dominant Boise State physical offense and defense, Boise State, we're going to look it up, and they're up like 21, and Genty's had 275 yards rushing.
And we're going to say we probably see this coming.
Yeah, I truly believe this is where Boise State physical dominance needs to take over. That's shown for a decade now.
Well, we can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys will join us again Friday. We'll be at Bar Canada, 3 to 5:30 p.m. inside the D Las Vegas down there on Fremont Street. So come hang out, walk Fremont Street, check out the various spots there, the street performers. You never know what you'll see on Fremont Street down there in Las Vegas. And again, 3 to 5:30, we'll be inside the D at Bar Canada. Johnny and Prater will be broadcasting their show, 95.3 The Ticket. We'll be doing our pregame show for BNN there. And again, the big thing, 2 free drinks for anyone that shows up. You get your 2 free drink tickets. You have a couple drinks. Get some food, and we'll be doing some giveaways. We'll be doing a raffle. I think our grand prize is a Brad Bedell autographed BNN koozie. So I think that's our grand prize for folks that come stop by. We got a lot of great things we'll be giving away, some raffles, maybe some Circa merchandise. We'll see what else we got going on, but it's going to be a lot of fun on Friday. And again, that's 3 to 5:30 at Bar Canada inside the D. Tell your friends, and hope you make some plans to come down for that. Brad, we appreciate you as always, man. Thanks so much. We'll be talking, I guess not necessarily a short week because they'll have Friday to Friday, but another Friday game next week at home against San Diego State. We got some cool things in the works that we're going to announce later in terms of that game, maybe another little pregame party we're working on in addition to our pregame show or in conjunction with that, I guess. So stay tuned for that. But Brad, appreciate it as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Have a good
Brad
one, guys.
Bedell, appreciate Brad for jumping on. Again, thanks to rowpaint.com, our title sponsor. Check them out, all your painting needs, rowpaint.com. And again, perfect on Friday night. If you're not going down to Las Vegas, grab some of those Horseshoe Golden Ales, the Orange Chaos Seltzer, and from Western Collective, and enjoy the game at home on Friday night. So appreciate everybody for checking us out. have a great rest of your Wednesday. We're heading down to get Spencer Danielson, Jabril Frazier, and James Montgomery. They're talking here after practice in about an hour, so we'll get Coach D and the rest of the coaches and get those interviews up on the YouTube channel. I'll have a story up later today as well. And then tomorrow it'll be Jay Tust and I on a Thursday edition before we board the plane and head to Las Vegas tomorrow evening. So looking forward to it. This has been a trip that I've had circled, and I think fans have had circled just for a long time. A Friday night, a weekend in Las Vegas, now so much on the line. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see how slow or fast these next 48 hours go before Friday night's game. So thanks, folks. Subscribe if you can. Follow us on all of our social media channels. Subscribe on YouTube. Share the video. Like the video. Tell your friends. And we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live at BroncoNationNews.com.